Hello, it's Dave Duford here, Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com, where I help agents like you succeed in the insurance business, but only if you try. You see, that's the problem a lot of people have with even beginning to start in their business of selling insurance. Doesn't matter if you're selling Medicare supplements, mortgage protection, selling to business owner, selling final expense. The biggest problem is that so many people are just plumb afraid of getting out there and actually doing something, and actually trying something. A.L. Williams had a famous speech where he just says, just do it, just do it, just do it. And there's a lot of wisdom in that simplicity of thinking, because a lot of people are just afraid of what happens if they fail. What happens if they invest themselves completely and they're completely committed and they jump in and they still fail? What is their family going to think? What are they going to think of themselves? What's going to happen to the money they put into the system? All of these things swirl around in people's heads and prevents them from measurably improving, measurably bettering themselves through success or failure. You see, that's the funny thing about failure. And that's the purpose of today's little live stream coaching call here, I guess you could say, is to describe the reality of failure. What's the worst that can happen? And I wanted to kind of describe some realities associated with failure, and how to take the seed of adversity and turn it into something positive. So here's the deal with failure, guys. You may jump into the business. Hey, Lakita, how you doing? You may jump into the business of selling insurance and fail. And you may wonder, well, what is the worst thing that can happen to me? I am a firm believer that if you start this business off with everything lined up correctly, that's really the most important thing. Make sure you're working with an organization that has a duplicatable sales system, a marketing system that's proven to work if you just implement it. I really don't care if it's direct mail or cold calling or anything in between. The important thing is to take something that's proven to work that you can replicate in your own business. So you got to have a selling system, you got to have a marketing system, and you've got to have a coaching program and a mentorship all tied into one to help develop you to that point. If you have all this stuff, there's no guarantee you're still going to succeed. It just gives you that much more odds that you will. But what if you still fail? So here's how I look at this whole failure concern that I think a lot of people have. I think personally, first of all, it holds way too many people back. Because once you actually are successful in this business and you start talking to other successful agents, I'm going to tell you guys a secret. The people who are successful aren't any smarter than you are. They're not these geniuses. They're not people who are people who necessarily have this, unreachable level of intelligence or IQ, or were necessarily even born with all the right stuff or all the right circumstances to help leverage them. In fact, the most successful people in this business are pretty average in every other regard. But where they're extraordinary is their work ethic, is their inability to quit despite everything telling them to otherwise. I have realized a lot of success in this business and a lot of preventing failure comes down to essentially a religious level of faith. A lot of the top people in this business have faith despite the odds, despite the circumstances. And I'm telling you this as a non-religious person. It's really interesting to see. You really have to have an irrational level of faith despite everything that goes on. So I say all this because as a way to encourage you, if you are failing right now and you're struggling and you're frustrated, you just have to keep going. And I can't even tell you any good reasons that maybe you should keep going, because sometimes there's just no reason that's logical to keep going, except that the alternatives, I can tell you, stink. When I failed out of this business, I had to go work for the man again. Oh, it sucked. I hate the idea of working for somebody else and listening to their rules, their standards, selling something I didn't believe in, working hours I didn't want to work. You know what I mean? I mean, this is what you have to go back to as hopefully motivation to stay away from it, to keep going despite failing. Because the thing is that the guys that are on top, for you guys that are struggling, they ended up on top because and the ones that are on top originally started on the bottom. And a lot of them, as you'll find, they experience the same level of frustration. They had experienced the same level of frustration. they had quit at one point or another, came really close to it, and had every reason logical in their mind to quit, but they did it anyway. They kept going anyway. And they are where they are not because of things that privilege they had, or because they had some circumstances that others don't, or that you don't. They did it because they're committed. And I say all this because it's important to understand that. A lot of people don't recognize that. They think that this level of success that comes with being in this business is something that's unique, or it's something that comes from just circumstances and advantages that you don't get. But the thing is you have every ounce of capability of being successful if you really believe it. That's what it comes down to, is belief and then hard work. So let's say you throw everything I just said out of the window. My motivational talk here doesn't mean squat. You've tried everything, you're convinced you're a failure. And you're looking as a new agent thinking, well, that could happen. So here is my kind of, reality check on what the worst could happen. Because I don't think the worst is failure. I don't even think that even failure is that big of a deal. So look, for example, if I take someone and I take them into the final expense business, I require my agents to buy direct mail leads because I want them invested. I want them to have skin in the game. I want them to feel the stress of having an investment. Why? Because I know when I put somebody in a position like that where there is financial stress, not a lot compared to other businesses, but enough to feel the stress, they're going to perform. Most people rise above when they're under stress and under tough circumstances. People don't perform when they're under circumstances where they don't have any expectations of being successful, or nobody expects them to be successful. There's no stress, there's no pressure to do anything. So pressure is important. Financial pressure is a great way to get people moving, to get them emotional, to get them out the door to succeed if they have something to lose. It's always the precursor to dramatic action. And so even if you do all this and you still fail, I think that in most lines of business, if maybe one of your objections to potentially jumping in and doing something is, well, what if I have to, I find out this business isn't for me? I genuinely think if you come in with the right attitude, which is you're going to work hard, you're going to follow what your mentor and your training program teaches you, you're going to access them when you need help, when you're struggling. If you do all this stuff and you go out there and you put in the work effort to see the amount of people that's required a week that achieve success, I really think within a month to 2 months time that you will end up seeing whether or not this business is for you. And if you put money into the business, let's say you buy direct mail leads like in final expense, and you do all this effort to work hard, look, I'm convinced the worst that could happen is you just break even on your initial investment. It doesn't take a lot of sales to just get back the money you put into your direct mail campaign. But for the people who aren't intending to go out there and work, or who talk themselves out of it, yeah, they're going to experience an even larger loss. So I think the kind of funny thing about this approach is that if you have the right attitude, which is a more or less belief in yourself, sure, we all have doubts when we get started with something new, but if you just plow through it and have a level of commitment to see through to the end, and you follow the system you're given, then it's very likely that you won't fail. In fact, you'll break even plus a multiple of what your initial investment is. And you'll find that even if you do struggle in that process, you'll learn if you're self-analytical and you look at what you could have done better, and you work with a coach, you work with somebody who's been doing this for a long time, and you identify the ways that you can improve, you'll be shocked at what happens. You'll find that you'll improve. You'll slowly improve your skill levels. You'll improve your confidence. You'll begin to sell more policies. You'll begin to help more people. And you'll begin to make a great impact on getting more insurance in place and helping more people get covered. And on top of all that, make a career out of this and not be a failure, to be a success. So I really think this is an important video because failure is something that every single successful person has faced, usually a multitude of times. I remember Dan Kennedy, and he's a marketing and sales guru. He had said the commonality amongst millionaire small businessmen, first-time millionaires, was that all of them went bankrupt or went close to it. So that means they had really committed themselves to something and failed. But despite the failure, they got back up, cleaned themselves off, got back on their feet, and tried it again. And they learned from those failures. You see, that's really the beauty of this business is there are opportunities with failure to learn from them and grow. And if we'll ever so just open our eyes to where our shortcomings are and be humble in acknowledging them and improving them, it's amazing that what can happen. So don't be afraid of failure. This is a step. It is nerve-wracking. You're potentially leaving behind another profession. You're potentially putting yourself in a position where you may fail. But if you are totally in belief, if you burn the bridges and jump in with both feet, you will be amazed at what the results are. And you'll be so thankful that, yeah, it may be easy. Look, you're going to struggle. You're going to think about quitting. Every agent does that's been in this business long enough. But even the ones that do really well. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Yeah, you'll see a recording on my video page. So just watch from the beginning. So everybody struggles that comes into this, but I promise you, if you just survive, if you can make it 4 or 5 years, if you can pay your dues, get better through in the trenches experience, get better by handling your emotions and facing yourself and still not letting that affect you. You're welcome. I promise you, if you just survive, there's so much opportunity in this business, and you get the benefits that come with being a professional life insurance or professional insurance salesperson. Freedom of when to work, how to work, who you want to work with. Really an unlimited income through selling products or maybe building an agency, something like what I've done. It's a great business to be in. And the fear of some sort of failure is sad to prevent so many people that really do have the stuff. They really do. They just need to be told they do. And in a sense, they need a little push out the door, I think, sometimes. But anyways, don't let failure get in the way of your success. You deserve it. You were meant to be here for a greater purpose than mediocrity. And if this has any appeal to you, then you have the seeds of greatness in you. And you should take advantage of it, because if you don't, it's a sad, sad thing when people who I've seen that could have been successful let themselves go to the wayside and lose out on important achievement that they could have achieved. My name is David Duford. I do these live streams 5 days a week. I talk about all sorts of things insurance related. Sometimes it's specific to final expense, sometimes other lines, sometimes I do kind of motivational / generic insurance information. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Also, if I could ask you, please give me a thumbs up on the video below. Also, there's a notification bell. Make sure you click on that too, so you get my videos delivered to you as soon as they're released. And if you like the idea of selling insurance and you want to see what my program's all about, go to feagentmentor.com and check out my website. Click the contact box. I'm happy to speak with you personally to inform you more about the opportunity of working in the insurance business and with me personally. Again, Dave Duford, Final Expense Agent Mentor. You guys have a good weekend. We'll see you bright and early on Monday morning. Take care.